up, Tom?
Oh man, how you doing, Matt? I'm fired up tonight.
I was just gonna say you're fucking shot out of
I'm
a cannon here.
fucking like I like how often do I show up in my work scrubs?
Yeah. No,
I've been
I think
sweating in these goddamn things all day, and I haven't even taken them off.
Yeah, once or twice I've seen you in your sexies, but
I'm a full whiskey in too.
Yeah, that's funny. So I'm the cliche guy this year. I did dry January, and I got.
Is that California sober or is?
Yeah.
You're still smoking, right? Yeah,
it's California sober for sure. But so I've done that before too, and I did them together one time actually. Couple years back, and I was like. I filed that one underneath the category of there's a lot of things I could do. I don't know how many of them are advisable or I want to do, but putting, no weed, no booze, no anything out to pasture for a month was sort of probably not my shining moment. Like, look, my brain needs something, and I tried to meditate my way through it. I tried to run my way through it. I tried, and there was just, I was like one of those Bernese Malinois or whatever, dogs that are just like,
always on. You're like ready to go. What am I tearing apart?
I couldn't stop. I couldn't. My brain was like, I was too far moving. You know
what's always funny to me is the No Nut November. Because like
fuck is that?
Chinese, that's when you don't ejaculate for the entire month of November.
I gotcha.
And
I was like, what are we talking about? Brazil nuts, cashews? Like, where are we at?
A lot of people have peanut allergies. It's an awareness month. There's a ribbon and everything. But like, it's funny because in Chinese medicine, right? Our age group now in your 40s, they're like, the classics are like, your teeth are falling out of your head. This is happening. And I'm like, what? I'm like, people apparently when they wrote this book did not live that long.
My teeth are definitely not falling out of my head.
If you're like over, and I'm going to misquote this, and the one Chinese acupuncture or the Chinese medicine scholar we have listening to this is going to be like, that's not right. That's when you're in your 50s. They're like, look, you shouldn't ejaculate more than once a week. And I'm like, I don't know about you, but
no, that's not
and then you'll look at like Taoism and sperm retention and all this stuff, and then modern studies, they're like, oh, you're gonna make so many prostaglandins and your testosterone's gonna go in the toilet. And then I met this one acupuncturist, and unfortunately he passed very young. And he was just kind of this like I kind of was like low key crushing on him, which sounds crazy, but like, he had this Italian fro. I have no other idea how to describe it. It was just curly, giant Italian hair. Full sleeve tattoos. He was in a biker gang. He did Mongolian horseback riding, and he was like an ordained Taoist, Buddhist priest.
Wow.
And like he had a company in China that was literally translating things into English. And he did this 6-part seminar, and he just spent like 2 days doing 3 different topics each. And one of them was on like Yangshen, which is like living a long life in Chinese medicine. What do you do to like live a vibrant long life and all these practices? And he mentions the classics, and he's talking about not getting off. And he's like, first of all, he's like, well, clearly you can see, I think the tattoos interrupting the channels is bullshit. And I'm like, all right, I love this guy.
Yeah.
And then he's like, and like, look, man, you're going to lose essence either way. You might as well enjoy it. Look, life is rough. It ages you. You might as well get off.
It never really understood. I'm actually curious. You know what? I know Brian Johnson and Andrew Huberman don't talk about their ejaculation schedule in their
volume
in their. Well, what they don't mention, actually, I just watched recently the Huberman daily protocol because I was curious after we talked about the Brian Johnson one. Actually, his is very, very similar. Not quite as I don't want to say frenetic, but Huberman's a teacher at Stanford. Like he has to live like a regular person life. So his
Yeah.
is a little bit more practical in nature because it's not like you don't need like a PA living in your house to like get his protocol done. You know,
A PA, a personal chef,
exactly.
a personal trainer.
Yeah. But like they don't mention that, like, you know, and I have heard various arguments on that.
Yeah.
I think once a week is probably not the right number for me personally. Like
I don't know if I'd
let
make
me
it.
ask
If I'm climbing up walls.
Yeah, if I'm, you know, a couple times a week, what am I doing? Am I, according to these things?
So the idea is
or?
right. So our kidneys, and this is the kidney system, not the actual physical kidneys. They were well aware that men had testicles and women had, you know, ovaries. Holds our essence, and that's how long we have on the planet classically, right? So we get that from the mom and the dad, you know, the sperm and the ovum uniting, and that's them passing their essence on. Right. And this is very weird when it gets into Taoism, and there's a lot of weird books about sperm retention and being able to press on your perineum before you ejaculate so it goes back in, quote unquote. Wow. I don't think the physiology actually works like that. And then there's like Manak Chia, who writes all those books about, like, you know, meditation, and he you know, and he wrote the book, like, I think it's called The Multi-Orgasm. Somebody else wrote Multi-Orgasm Man, but it's based off of his stuff. Yeah. And the idea is, like, you get pleasure, but you don't ejaculate, right? Because that's your essence going out. Now, women, on the other hand, they can come as much as they want, and they don't lose anything, right? We actually give essence out. So the idea is, if that essence is how long your you know, now I'm talking Greek, but that cord of life is, you shorten that every time you ejaculate, according to Chinese medicine principles.
Interesting.
Now, I remember, it's funny because I can name, it was Dave Asprey talking about that. And he's like, well, there's a study that shows when you do ejaculate, your prostaglandin shoots up and your testosterone goes down.
Which technically should have a longevity effect.
Right. Yeah. Right. So testosterone is actually supposed to be protective for males, right? It's a longevity thing, right? HRT for males, when they're not like juicing to be anabolic steroids, that's supposed to attribute to longevity. So it's pretty funny that you know, that correlation has been made in Chinese medicine. And even the idea, like, when you see a Buddha statue and the ears are gigantic, the ears are shaped like the kidneys. The kidneys house the essence. That's a sign of longevity, right? Big ears.
Big ears.
You know, and when we talk physiognomy, which is like looking at something and saying, oh, this means this is going on, right? There is something to it. It's kind of hokey. It's hard to prove scientifically, but many practitioners look at the color under the eyes. Clearly, we look at the tongue. We feel around the body. We look for weird moles, birthmarks, and the whole ear is mapped out as well. So the idea is that, like, if you're exerting too much essence, you go bald, you go prematurely gray, you know, and now modern days, clearly we know things like that, but, you know, what is true and what is not, I should say. And
well, like weird. Things like balding and going gray, like those they've isolated those down to
those genes. Yeah.
Right. Like, so. And it's funny because I told you I started taking Nutrafol, right? And like Nutrafol.
Oh, you did it? Is your hair getting thicker and glorious?
So it's been about 4 months, and I will say I do think that there has been a shift in my hair for sure. Like
you should totally go and buy the red light comb on Amazon and review that.
Oh, interesting. Red light comb.
It's like
I've seen that. That's what doesn't Brian Johnson use something like that?
I have no idea. You know, they got a baseball cap that's got red light.
Yeah, yeah. He uses a hat. Yeah, exactly.
It's funny because when I was the director of acupuncture for a chain of wellness centers in the Mid-Atlantic, we had a guy come in selling this, like, it was like a $20,000 red light unit, right? And it was the cool thing about it is they had different accessories, so they were low powered LEDs. I'm freaking out because my thing keeps adjusting. But they had different LEDs, and they had like a boot, and they had like leg straps, and they had arm straps, and they had a helmet. And the
Irie
guy
Store Elite, $2,500.
the guy was such like he was making jokes and they were bad. You know, and our whole group was just cracking up the whole time because we were saying stuff. So I go, does it help with hair growth? And he goes, yeah. He goes, we got a helmet. And he goes, you know what happens when people use it? They get lightheaded.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't fucking do that. We were not having his jokes. The whole group was like, that was fucking horrible.
Capitalist Pro S1, $2,400.
Well,
it's the baseball cap one.
And it's funny because, like, Saluma is this one for facial rejuvenation, and there's a lot of acupuncturists doing facial rejuvenation, and it's kind of like a U that lays over a massage table. So they'll do a bunch of needles and they'll put the thing over somebody's head. And it comes down to, and it's the same thing with all the units, whether or not you have the panels or you're using an LED pad. It's the output equals how far away you can have it from somebody, basically, right?
Yeah,
the higher the output, the further away you can have it.
Yeah, and even my red light panels, they even gave you the absorption rates based on how far away it was from your skin.
Yeah.
And so, like, you can dial in real, I mean, mine, I think, and it's been several years since I set mine up, but I think the inches I put mine away from it was like the super highest my lights could go. And, meant that I basically needed 20 minutes and that's it. Like, you're done. You know what I mean? Like, and so, if I move them away further, I'd have to go to like a half hour or something. You know what I mean? Like, it was.
Yeah. You want that sweet spot where it's not taking too much time and you're getting a full dose, but you're not like kissing it,
Yeah, no, totally. So yeah, I don't remember how we got down here, but I do remember what we wanted to talk about tonight. And yeah,
you're pulling me back in, man.
Well, so let me just tee this up here, and I'm gonna let you kind of like Vesuvius here because I know you just want to like rip into this, but correct me if I'm wrong. From what I hear, you hired a company to help you write a book, right?
Yes,
it was a good process in the beginning. It went along and. Then it got, I wouldn't say
there was a couple of hiccups. Let's say there was a couple of red flags that came up.
But basically, where this really falls apart in our hero's story is
our hero's story is 3/4 of a bottle of whiskey right now. But
yeah,
let's go.
Where this really hits the fan is when it comes time for your book launch. They fucked it up. We by the skin of our teeth get that rectified, and now they're just fucking it up again. Right. And so I have a couple 50,000 foot questions to get us going on this.
Let's keep it at 50,000 foot so you can't see the brand name in case it gets legal.
Listen, there's a lot of people in this space in particular.
Well, so many people are writing books because it is a good calling card. You know what I'm saying? It's not. You don't write the book to be a New York Times bestseller per se. You want the ability to say, I'm an expert and here's what I've done. And it doesn't matter how many times you've been quoted. It doesn't matter that you're featured in articles. They want you to have a book. I mean, that is the textbook play. We have some good friends that have done it pretty frequently and pretty well.
And the thing with the books that I agree with you 100%. And, full disclosure, I'm officially rewriting.
You're in the market.
I'm officially writing a book again.
Yes.
I have gone to my second choice option while I figure out a better way to do my first choice option.
That's what I did, man. Yep. That's exactly what I did. I was like, this one's the easier swing. Let me warm up.
And I think that there's a part of it. This book is definitely easier than that. But I guess sort of where I was going with this was that, okay, so you got a guy like me. I'm very much like everybody else that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And, you've got a little bit of a template because you probably have friends that have done it. Check. That's true.
I can think of at least 5 people we both know that have done it.
You could think of more than that. I think you're just not trying very
hard.
Well,
yeah, this is real quick. Yeah. That was a back of the napkin calculation.
And you also have you're well read, and people who are writing a book probably are also pretty well read, which means like you've got a lot of examples of books out there, and you have a pretty good idea of the process involved with it, the cost it's going to take, and the timing, right? And
Yeah.
to a certain degree, and I'm certainly not trying to minimize your recent experience, but to a certain degree, writing a book is a known formula, right? Like it is.
It absolutely is. Fiction,
right?
nonfiction, there's a way to do both.
There's a way to do both. And I don't want to, for purposes of this conversation, let's call it a little bit of a paint by numbers experiment, right? Because you can.
I would agree with you because, like, honestly, this book I just launched.
Yeah.
I've got 3 more templated to this.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I can change the subject.
Sure.
And follow the same formula.
And that is all it takes for you to be taken seriously in this sort of crowded market, is to have that one thing that puts you up as a subject matter expertise. And in your case, and I suspect is the case with, I would dare to say, pretty much everybody who writes a book, even though that book has like tendrils into one specific area, esoterically it links you to a broader,
absolutely,
absolutely.
Some of my favorite authors are doing like interviews. They're on network television and all these things, and I'm like, you're not a subject matter expert in this, but it's tangential to what what you wrote a book on. So it's you're right. So here's my question. People like me that are following along the same path you're on, like, let's unpack what happened to you and kind of talk about maybe. Well, and I'm going to talk about this vaguely because, like I said, I'm hoping for a peaceful resolution. Oh, that was a telltale sigh.
Yeah. Yeah.
But within that, right?
Well,
so
it's burning hot, right? You're at the end and it's burning hot, right?
Well, like, and I just had several conversations about it today.
Oh yeah.
So and with various parties. Sure. So I think I didn't make this anybody that's looking for small business help should apply to Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses. They're an amazing group. So I will say that they give you a business advisor for the duration of the course. This business advisor has not steered me wrong. She has private clients where she coaches and helps them figure out their stuff too. So I said, look, I'm writing this book. That is my business growth plan, right? I'm going to get out there. I'm going to be a subject matter expert. I'm going to be in front of people and I want to talk and I want to do TV and I want to do this and I want to do that, right? Real vision board shit.
Sure.
And she goes, oh my God, I just got this private client. She's got this company and they help you launch the book. They're not a publishing company. She said, why don't you schedule a call with them? And I will say that I was promised a rather white glove experience. And I was told the time frame is about a year. And I said, all right, here's our fee. It's a monthly service.
Like a cocktail napkin to book in hand 1 year, or what are the...
So that's what she said. And I said, I've got this 80% finished manuscript. And she goes, oh, you move quicker, right? I mean, makes sense, right? It's almost done. So I got everything done, and I don't remember when I asked you for the forward, but that's kind of when we were kind of circling,
sure.
The final, hey, we're all done. So I got that done. And, the first couple of months were, editing and copyright and it was read several times by proofreaders. And every time I'm like, wow, they're actually doing the thing they said they're doing. This is great. And there's lag time, right? It's going to take a couple of weeks for somebody to read it with a microscope over it or a fine tooth comb, and cool. All right. Get the edits back to us. All right. Got the edits back to them. All right. This is going to take a few months. That makes sense, right? We're not paying too much yet. And then there was a promise of like, hey, look, your book should really be launched in January. And I was like, well, I was really hoping for an October or November launch.
So real quick on that, what was there any sort of like, as these recommendations were coming down, whatever they were,
yeah,
right? Was there sort of How was the experience? Was it like, do as I say because we're the experts, or was it like,
well, they were like,
January
look, if you're
because of
well, January is the best time to release one, nonfiction in general, but two, self-help or do-it-yourself guides, right? This is when people want to start something new,
right?
Resolutions, all that stuff. And I said, well, that makes sense, but what are you going to be doing in the meantime that I have to pay the monthly charge for? Oh, you're ahead of schedule, so you'll be able to take a break. You know, and the funny thing is, like, I'm being careful not to be held accountable for libel, and no one can sue you for libel in America. So I should just let shit fly.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm trying to be cordial and not discourage somebody or stomp out a small business. So in that time, you know, we're going through the process, and then like there's the cover design. Now, I will tell you, I've been working with my social media manager who does, like, I actually flew her out for the book launch, and everybody met her and they're like, oh my God, she's amazing. And I'm like, this is the first time in about 8 years of me working with her that we've been in the same fucking room.
Oh, wow.
And it was kind of great. It was great. And, you know, even people that were like, well, I don't know about her, were like, oh my God, she's fucking amazing. And Pam, I fucking love her. She's like family now. She's always gone to bat. She was at all these meetings and she's like, what are they doing? What are they doing this month? And that was a hard question to ask, because it was like, I just gave you a significant chunk of money, and we're not in layout. We're not in here, but what's happening this month? And you're not telling me anything, right? And they're acting like, oh, this is a proprietary secret or something. Well, we mapped out everything they did. Nothing is proprietary.
Well, no.
And
I told you, like we talked about at the beginning, this is a system. Like
it's a system. It's a formula. And what they're selling you is hand-holding through the system. And, you know, we're at these meetings and they're like, oh, well, you need to build this, you know, your book army list. And I'm like, so I've got 7,000 patients sitting in a database. There you go. Oh, who are your influencers? And I start rattling off our New York Times bestseller buddies.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay. And I'm like, hey, you know this fitness influencer? Yeah, that's my cousin. Yeah. You know, like, you know, and they're like, I don't think they knew what to do with us. And part of it, I'm going like, hey, Pam, I don't think I'm hot shit, but I don't think, I think they literally have a bunch of people that are trying to preserve grandma's recipes. And they don't know, like, I'm not even, like, we're not even flexing. And, you know, then they set up these random, like, oh, hey, we've got this monthly meeting to talk about this. Well, why'd you pick a time that I can't make? Arbitrarily, you picked a time, and they're like, well, we do it for everyone that's going to be at that stage. So I logged into a couple, and it's like, there's 2 people on the call with me.
Mm.
And, like, one of them was a nice real estate agent, but he was fucking deer in the headlights, man. I'm like, oh, I live in this space now. I'm trying to be, you know, like, out there. I'm trying, like, we're doing this podcast for a reason. You know, we'd have this conversation anyway, but like,
no, but
we're doing to put shit out there. And you know, he asked some questions, and I'm answering, not the person that's running the meeting. I'm like, oh, hey man, try this, try that. And he goes, oh, thank you so much. And I'm like, well, why isn't she telling you that? She should be telling you that. She doesn't know that.
I was on a meeting today, like a networking meeting today for fractional people. And I had a similar kind of conversation where there's like 4 of us, and I just sort of knew more about it. So I was helping this lady out. But like, that was because like we were in a network group thrown together as 4 strangers, and like somebody just needed to do it. If I'm paying somebody.
Yeah.
There's no fucking way I'm answering the questions for her.
And Pam, I'm not paying Pam for this. She's showing up to the meetings. And I'm like, dude, you're doing too much. I know I'm not paying you enough to be at this meeting. Right. And she's, you know, and we get off the meeting and she goes, you gave him 2 gifts. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not proprietary. If you know what to search on the internet, you'll end up at the same place.
Right.
And she goes, yeah, but you found it out. You did it. You're the one that works that system, and it's working out well for you.
Yeah, but that's the funny part, right? Like, I mean, did you see this LinkedIn thing going around about all the balloons in the hallway and the kids experiment?
Oh yeah. I kind of like I LinkedIn for me is for business, and I'm not going to read feel good stories and shit. You know,
the quick story is like they fill up this hallway with like 1,000 balloons, right? And they've got one kid's name on each one, and they throw them out there, and they say go outside and find your balloon. And after like 20 minutes, nobody has their own balloon. Like, it's basically statistically impossible to think that you're going to get that, right? But then they said, okay, change the thing. You pick up the next balloon you see and go find that person and give it to them. And within like 3 minutes, every balloon had its
everybody
own.
had their balloon. Yeah,
like, you know, and I never really like paid attention to networking like that. But I will tell you, since it's been brought to my attention, I have noticed that sharing quote unquote secrets.
Yeah.
All it does is help you, because if you help somebody get their balloon, like guess who they're going to help at the very first opportunity they can.
You.
Like, yeah, exactly. Now you do that hundreds of thousands of times over your life, and guess what? Like, you know, by and large, life is probably a little easier for you.
You know what? You nearly summed up part of my speech that I gave at the book signing.
Oh, really?
Which was like, look, my name's on the book, but the only reason I got here is because I'm part of a community.
Sure.
Everybody in that room, and you and Joe and people that couldn't make it and people that decided to go to the fucking Ravens game. I don't hate you. Believe me, I would have gone if I could have. But like, you know, they helped me get there. You know, whether or not it was like just encouragement, whether or not it was like, hey, oh, you need this? I know somebody, right?
Sure.
You know, I mean, it is ridiculous to not think we're communal animals, right? We have a society for a reason. And
one of the fun parts about like social media is that I make fun of these people who are addicted to it, but like, you know what they're doing? They're sharing those secrets, quote unquote, on a very public platform to
some of them are just
people.
dumbasses, but I agree with you.
Just dumbasses. I'm not saying all community ideas are good. I'm simply saying, like, you know, like, but like,
depends on the community.
But that comment's really telling, right? Of Pam, where she's like, you know, you gave him 2 gifts. I'm like, you know, that's sort of a scarcity mentality, right? You're saying like, that's not
well. I think her point with that was, you know, like, you did more for him than the company he's paying.
Oh, I see. Yeah, of course.
That should have been you know, a red flag going off right there.
All right. So far in the story, we're kind of feeling that there's a lot of kind of truths, or mostly truths, but the veneer's starting to peel off a little bit, right? So now
you know, I'm not feeling the personal pampered experience that I was told.
Which you get over at a certain point, I imagine, right? Like,
there's always a honeymoon period where like, oh, this is great, and you know, now it's still just work. It's just different work.
No, but okay. So, well, I guess what I was saying is like, we're at the point now where you're not happy. Now comes the launch. I suspect this is where the wheels fall off.
Well, so what really got me first was I had 3 different people who, and this is funny. I'm big work from home. I don't think there's no reason to go in the office if you don't have to. This company, every employee is 100% remote, and I was well aware of that without them ever telling me. You know, because it was like I'd ask a question and then there's like 3 days before an answer. And we're not talking about heavy lifting questions.
Right.
Like,
so they're clearly outsourcing the question.
They're outsourcing the question, or they're like, this person's not in front of the computer, or they don't merit something as important. So they're going to back burner it. And I'm paying a significant amount of money a month, let's say. And
Sure.
I'm not going
Right.
to give actual figures because you will figure out the company with
Yeah,
a
no,
quick little search. But you know what they're doing was they were trying to give you a formula to write the book, and you know, me and Pam were like writing down every step that they were taking, and 90% of them were free steps. You know, there wasn't a cost involved. Right. You know, ISBNs, if you buy them in bulk, you can get for like a few $100s, you can get a bunch of them. So if you're planning on cranking out books, buy
Just
10, buy
buy a
100,
10 pack.
you know, and little things were like, you're sending me emails from this address and that address and this address. And it was so disjointed. If you just had a master, like put me in an Asana, put me in a Slack and say, here's the tasks. And here's when we have them. You know, like my thing was like, this is so disjointed. And then I'm getting
we have
email,
we have a Monday template that every project starts with. It's already done.
Why?
You just like duplicate
why
template.
not? Why not?
That's what I'm saying.
Know?
Like if I was a publisher, I'd be like, here's the next 30 weeks of your life.
And it's like
Monday.
you're not even automating that shit.
No.
You know? And I would have been more impressed had you handed me something like, here's how this goes. Look, lock and key. Just work through this and just go step by step. I would have been like happier with that. But there was like disjointed emails coming, and it's like, look, you gave me like a Google Sheets thing that there were dates that you were supposed to put in that aren't in there, and there's checks that you're supposed to put in that you didn't check. And it's like, I did all this, but like, you never told me when this was due. And then it's like, oh, wait, you didn't do that. And it's like, wait, I didn't do it because you didn't tell me I had to do it. You know, so the organization of the company was just utter shit. You know, now looking back at it, and you know, one point I actually had a conversation with Pam. Like, look, Pam, you've been holding my hand with me all the way through this. I kind of want to fucking fire him.
Yeah.
I think we can figure this out. And Pam's like, let's take this as like paying for college credits. Let's learn their process. And then we never need them again.
Yeah.
Well, sure. we wrote everything down, and you know, we're getting closer to launch. And I get an email from the owner of the company, right? We're early December, let's say. And we're circling the, why do I say circling? We're like, we can see the finish line, right?
Yeah.
And hey, Tom, I'm going to order your proof from this other, when you buy wholesale, Amazon's more expensive. We have this other company that we upload the file to, and they print it cheaper. So that's where you're going to order your wholesale books. Like, Matt, if you said, hey, Tom, I want to promote your book for you. I need 50 copies. What can you do for me? All right, we're going to go order from them.
I see. Okay.
And they said, cool, you should have it by December 13th at the latest.
Okay.
So December 13th rolls around and I don't have it. Now, I had gotten an email from the owner of the company earlier saying like, hey, look, just so you know, don't get scared. We close the office from December 24th to January 2nd. We give everybody time off. Okay, cool. Not much is going
Seems
on.
Reasonable.
The email says, you know, there isn't an issue that we can't resolve in 3 or 4 days tops. Okay, cool. So books ordered for me early December. It's like December 20th. I don't have a copy of the book. They told me it's 14 days. I figured, well, there's been some weather issues. You know, I'm getting alerts from FedEx. Well, not here. Not here. We didn't get snow until later. But, you know, Colorado got slammed. This got slammed. You know, whatever. Okay, cool. It's also the holidays. Maybe it's taking a little longer. So apparently on December 26th, the day after Christmas, the company got an email from this third-party publisher that said, or the third-party printer that said, hey, there was a corrupt file. We couldn't print it. So it took them about 2 weeks to get back. Now, I got nobody to contact. I didn't even know the email came out. January 2nd, I send an email like, hey, man, you guys are open again. I still don't have a proof of the book. and I need 100 copies for the 20th, which is when our book signing was.
Sure.
Because the launch date was on the 17th. It took them days to respond to me. About 5 days to get back to me. So now we're like a week in because it's Friday afternoon. Shit isn't happening Friday afternoon. And I go like, I need these copies, so you got to fix it. And they're like, well, this company's never told why did it take almost 2 weeks for them to tell us the file was wrong? And I'm like, I don't care. I need copies of the book. And after a lot of like blood pressure medication and everything, and about a week and a half, it took them to go like, look, we found this third company. We're going to order you books. You know, we're going to pay for them. And I'm like, that's the bare minimum.
Yeah.
You know, like I've got 100 people coming to a book launch. By the way, those of you that came out, thank you. Those of you that couldn't, I totally get it. We were overlooking the Raven Stadium. We saw fireworks go off. We saw the A-10s do the flyover. And we got some golden hour photos that will go up. I look absolutely perfect in it.
Nice. There you go. There you
but
go.
we had a great turnout. We had about 80 something people in the middle
awesome.
of like Ravens country, right? But those books that they ordered from another printer came Friday afternoon, the day before the fucking book launch, in a fucking snowstorm. And I was like wound so fucking tight.
Well,
like, I mean, how do you have a book signing without books?
Tachycardic is where I'd be right about there.
Look, man, I started a new blood pressure regime. Hope we could list our supplements again. I upped mine. They're working great.
I'm feeling oddly numb and
I've been passing out a lot lately, but it's at least my blood pressure's low. But within that, you know, the other issue was because there was this issue with this other printer, it was only live on Amazon on our launch date for the fucking Kindle edition. So I'm having people call me like, I want to support you. I want to buy the physical book. It's not on Amazon. And the company's going like, well, it looks like it's live on ravenbooks.com. I'm like, what the fuck is Ravens Books?
Yeah.
You have the
10
million pound gorilla.
Yeah.
Like, fuck Jeff Bezos, but that's the only game in town, bro.
No, of course.
And as of tonight...
You never heard of Ravens Books? How dare you?
Ravens Books, you don't get everything from there? Yeah. As of tonight,
I think I got like a mop from Ravens Books, didn't I? Yeah.
Ravens Books is all for all things related to the Ravens.
Yeah, car batteries. Yeah, you know.
So it's January 25th for whenever this actually launches. And as of today, Amazon has a paperback book, but it's from a third party. It's more expensive than I set the book at. And guess what? You can buy that book. I don't get any of that additional money.
So how is somebody that you don't get money from selling your book?
So they want the book in as many hands as possible, right? So I agree with this. They post it on every printing company. It's on Barnes and Nobles. It's everywhere, right? So you can buy it, but we say, here's what we want out of it. Or we say, here's what the MSRP cost is, right? Knowing that I'm only going to get a fraction of that, right? You sell the book for $25. I'm lucky to get $8, you know? And everybody gets a different cut. So companies will say, all right, we'll give you that cut, but we're going to charge $5 extra.
Right.
You know, so you can go on Amazon as we speak. Once again, it's January 25th. You know, what is that? 8 days after the book was supposed to go live. And you could buy it for $31 instead of $24.99. I don't see an extra penny. And like, they're like, oh God, we're so sorry this has happened. And I'm like, no. This is the point where you reimburse me.
Yeah.
Like, you fucked up. No. This wasn't our fault. There was a corrupt image. All right. Who uploaded the corrupt image? Well, it may have been one of the files that you sent us. Okay, so I sent you those 4 months ago.
Yeah, I can get the Kindle book for $9.99.
And that's the Kindle price. That is what that book is being sold for on Kindle.
Yeah, and paperback $31.49.
That should be $24.99, and that's from a third party. And if you check out the third party's reviews, it's not a 10 out of 10. It's like an 8 out of 10 or something.
Got it.
So, like, I want to be excited. I want people to be able to buy this book. I want to, not so they buy the book at the right price or they, they're lining my pockets, because this is something I really wanted to share, because it's for the people, if you will. This is everybody's medicine, and this is something you can do at home safely and effectively. And like, it's not supposed to be some erudite text that you have to go look up words and, oh my God, what is this term? It's like, no, this is down and dirty. Put it in your hands, read the damn thing, and start treating people, yourselves, other family members. And when you launch a book and you're like, oh, it's everywhere, except unless you want it on Amazon, then it's not everywhere, right? Like, oh, you could get it in Amazon in 2 days, but now it's like, oh, you want it? You'll get it 2 weeks from now.
Interesting. This whole process is super fascinating to me, because
well, when you get closer to like putting the actual book together and doing layout and everything, I'll just give you everything this company gave me, because once again, it's not proprietary.
Yeah,
We've been recording everything they've done. They did not invent anything. Certainly, they sent me to buy the ISBNs. They sent me to a company that does the same thing they do.
Oh, Jesus.
Which, if that is not the dumbest,
what's an ISBN
move,
cost these days?
ISBNs, I think a 2-pack is like I think a 3-pack was under $200.
Oh, so it's basically
Library of Congress is free. All of these things are free, and I'm like, well, if they're free and I'm paying you X number of dollars a month, why aren't you doing them? Why are you even bothering me with this? What am I paying you for?
Right. And if I was that company, I would just buy. I mean, could the company just buy like 200 ISBNs?
Well, and this is what I told to them. I'm like, where's the value add? Buy 1,000 of these.
Right.
At pennies.
And just like, hand them out like trading cards.
You don't even have to do this part. We gotcha.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, you could literally, it would take me, well, I wouldn't do it, but it would take an assistant of mine, probably no more than an hour.
Look, I could hire 4 assistants for what I'm paying this person a month.
No, I'm saying like they can, yeah, I'm sure. But like you can, in about an hour, maybe 2, you could have somebody write a template in like Jira or Monday or Asana or a Trello or any of these things, and just have it be a template. Like here is the administrative side of book publishing, laid out by task. You can Gantt chart it if a little bit, if and adjust timing for the specific project. But I mean, this, like ISBN, right? That's on the list, dude, right? Like it's a checklist item. It's got to be a thing in there. So like you can do a lot of this stuff, I would imagine. And I'm really not sure why they don't. And I guess
well, that was it. It's like, why not make it white glove? Why not make it turnkey? Here's what I wrote.
Well, here's my question to you. This company, are they sort of doing it because like learning on the fly kind of thing? Like, are they just not great at this?
They've been around for about 6 months.
Oh, so they're new. Okay, so that might no,
6 years. 6 years. Sorry, 6 years, not months. But here's the weird thing. When I thought I might have to take legal action, I started trying to figure it out. Where would I have to sue these people? And they're incorporated in one state, but all right, they're also in a different county. And you read this, and it's like, well, it's not. There's not an individual name that owns it, right? You have a parent company. All right. And then I looked at that parent company, and that parent company's moved in between 3 different states in 3 years.
Yeah. So, I mean,
There's something shady going on.
Sure.
And what I'm most pissed off about is I know that deer in the headlights guy that I was on the phone call with has no idea he's being taken advantage of. And what pisses me off more is they say they publish 50 books a year. It may be bullshit, but for every one that knows what's going on, you got 49 motherfuckers that are just in the dark, just handing these idiots money.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It totally does. So look, if I'm going to take the hit financially, I'm fucking your life up.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, why? On principle, because you're taking advantage of other people.
Yeah, it's a douchebag maneuver. And I'm interested in the turnaround time on communication because, like, you know,
that is killing me. If I ask you a simple yes/no question,
it should be,
and it takes you 3 days.
Yeah.
And I'm paying you what I think is way too much money.
But that's that part about how many people they're taking advantage of. I mean, this goes back, you know, in our conversations literally to episode 1, right?
Episode 1, yes.
Like when people are taking advantage of other people. Yeah.
Good callback.
Well,
as they say in the industry.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of the undercurrents of this show is that, like, this industry as a whole is definitely just rife with people ready to take advantage of people. And I think that, you know, look, there's a lot of people out there. A lot of people are good at a lot of things, and it's not as easy to stand out anymore. And honestly, books are even though they're, you know, a pain in the ass, they're expensive, whatever, it's still a high leverage lever.
It is the most expensive business card you can write.
Right. But like that, but that, you know, how many acupuncturists are there? There's, you know, and how many web designers are there, and how many business consultants
how do you differentiate yourself? How do you say I'm the one you should be listening to?
And if we go back to our, you know, I think you missed when Jack Alaka came and spoke.
No, I was there. I was there. I was there, and he was saying, "Be fucking Louis Vuitton." Yeah, I was there.
With the backflip story, I thought that was hilarious. He's like, if you just like doing backflips, and you know, like, and you just, you got good at doing backflips, right? And
I wanted to hate that dude, and 10 minutes in, I'm like, I see what the fucking allure is.
Yeah, no, of course. And
no, I'm in. I want to do drugs with Jack Aloka.
Yeah, and his idea was simple, right? If you're really that good at fucking backflips, somebody's eventually going to pay you to do a backflip.
Going to pay you money to do backflips,
right.
Yeah.
And the only people that you ever want to talk to are people that think you're worth paying to do backflips, right? And so, like, when you look at, like, the book, what I find intriguing about it, and quite frankly is one of the bigger reasons why I want to do it, is you sort of bring the mountain to Moses. The people that want to pay you to do backflips are the people that are going to read your book and be like, this is the guy I want to talk to. Right. Like,
yeah.
And then when you have a conversation with that human being, you're not, there's no selling at all. Like, you're just,
they're already in. They know what you're capable of.
And they know your point of view, your worldview, your perspective, like
all of it. Yeah.
Like, they probably know a bit of your process, if not all of your process. So, like, yeah. And it is a shame because now look at you, right? Like, you dumped a lot of emotional energy into this outside of the cash, a lot of time, which is, like, you know, not to quote too many people here, but, like, you know, the David Hools of the world that are like, you know, the only currency you can't reprint is time. Like, you just can't, there's no workaround for that, right?
There is no workaround. And at the end of the day, isn't that the only thing we're kind of selling?
Yeah, that's it.
It doesn't matter if you're a prostitute or you're a fucking neurosurgeon.
But like, what I'm saying is, like, for you to be dicked around like this, right? Or in the more nefarious version, like the deer in headlights guy who doesn't even know, the poor sucker doesn't even know getting fleeced. You know, that sucks even more so because, like, in a way, and I don't want to get too mean, but, like, you're basically trading on their emotional vulnerability and
And it's
leading
not
them.
even, this is not even you taking advantage of somebody stupid, right? So there's willful ignorance, and then there's just, I don't know anything about this world,
Sure.
right? You know what I'm saying? And even the pitches. Let's talk about the pitches, right? So I got media pitches. This was the sale, the launch, 20 media pitches. Okay, can you tell me who you pitched? Right? And there was a couple of, like, I don't even want to say national, but there was like, on the list there was like the Baltimore Magazine, and it's like, well, do you know that like a few years back my clinic got best holistic center? Did you leverage that when you spoke to them? They actually awarded me that. That's an in. No, you just pitched. I didn't even fucking see the pitch. And then the list is other shit, right? So then I get this email like, and you might want to do this when we get off the phone, or when we get off this call. You can literally go on Authority Magazine. Authority Magazine's great, right? It's a big aggregate, let's call it that, right? So if you're an expert, here's several hundred topics that we're writing about right now. If you're an expert in one of those topics, you can write and answer the questions, and we will publish it, and we'll link back to your website, we'll link to your book, we'll link to whatever the hell you want. So they sent me this like email like, oh my God, we got you on Authority Magazine, this prestigious thing. And I'm like, I've been on that twice. I know how it works.
Yeah.
I will answer these stupid fucking questions that I've answered. Like the first is like, who are you, and tell us about your story. I'm like, all right, I will rewrite the first 2 times a third time, and then answer the questions about pain relief. Oh, and then they're like, we'll optimize it to direct it to the. I'm like, oh, so you're gonna link to the fucking book. Is that what you're going to do? I'm like, that is not optimizing. That is you putting in the link to the fucking book.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be like, honestly, I did not limp in with this book. You read it. It's not, it is supposed to be down and dirty, educational, get you up and running. This is the no frills. I'm giving you what you need to know. Get out there and help people. And it was kind of insulting when that was the one pitch that they said that landed out of 20 pitches. It's like, I have a better success rate. I was in Forbes last week.
Yeah.
Like, dude, no, seriously, I got into Forbes.
But here's the funny thing, though. Like, I mean, I think maybe that. So I think this actually is a little bit more motivational than I originally thought, in the sense that, like,
oh, good, this is a feel-good story.
Well, not a feel-good story, but think of it this way, right? Like the guy, your deer in headlights guy, right? Like just look at that. I
felt so bad for him because I'm like, he doesn't even know how bad he's getting fleeced.
Yeah, but let's look at you versus that guy, right? So a bunch of people that have written books, a couple New York Times bestsellers at that. You've got
at least a couple, yeah.
And that's not normal, right? Like there's a lot of people on the earth, only which a very small fraction of them can say they are friends with one New York Times bestseller, let alone multiple. Right.
Yeah,
and it's just not,
absolutely.
Unless you're a literary person, you work for the New York Times, or you're in a major metropolitan area with and involved in the literary culture. It's unlikely. You know what I mean? Like it's not like a normal thing, right? Everybody's not crawling around writing New York Times.
And honestly, to that point, I'm blessed with that, right? Because that is a privilege. That is totally a privilege.
But it's not just, it doesn't end, the privilege doesn't end there, is my point, right? Like
no, it definitely doesn't.
You also are good at your job, which means you got good coverage, like that that holistic wellness center thing. Like that's like one example of it, right? But like,
yeah.
And the fact that you are a Baltimore guy, and Baltimore is really a small-timore, right? And so
everybody knows everybody. You piss off the wrong person, you say the right thing to the right person, all of it.
But more importantly, you know how the cogs fit together, right? And
that takes time and the effort, but that I paid for 20 years,
Yeah, but that's my point. Like one could argue that you didn't really need a book coach, right? Like that you could have just gone out and done this, because to your point, it's not like they're But what you need is Pam was right. You paid for the college credits, right? So you basically, you got justification you got the template of how to do it. You were able to say, well, I could have done 7 out of 10 of these things, but now I know that I was right and that I'm good. And so next time I just have to lean into what I already know. And I suspect most people could do all of those things, but the way you and I think about the world and how we extract data from a situation and learn how to do something is not like average, right? And so,
well, we're definitely not normal. We were told that by a double PhD.
Yeah, right.
But who also wrote a really fucking good book.
Yeah. And we're not normal, but that's the thing. Like what I think we do is we fall victim to that. Oh, well, you got to write a book. Okay. So you hire somebody who's going to help you publish the book. Well, like if I'm like going to a restaurant, I've got Yelp to tell me, if the restaurant sucks, right?
Don't go there.
I don't
order this when you're there. Yeah.
Right. Unless a friend of mine, and here, this doesn't even help me because I do have a friend who's writing a book right now. I can't ask you for a publisher because you're like, no, fuck those people.
Well, fuck that person.
Yeah, right. So like,
I do have somebody else who's another friend from a different connection that I'm like, no, that one I'll go to next time.
Yeah, I just, I don't know. I think there's a lot of tools out there these days that like you might have, but I think the experience was valuable for you, I think. And I think that.
Look, you live, you learn is kind of the expression. And, sometimes you pay, but.
Yeah, but I'd be heavily tactical at this. I'd be heavily tactical at this point because I'd be like, look,
next step is like, I know what to do. I'm going to get 80% of the way there and I'm going to pitch a formal publishing company, even if it's a small one.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, but nowadays you can self-publish. I mean, you got all kinds of options these days.
Well, we're still number 1 in Chinese medicine. On Amazon today, and we were pretty high in acupuncture, and
that's awesome.
We were really high up in pain management. So 3 categories, we were number 1. I don't know where, like, because it could move so quickly. But within that, like, now I can even leverage those screenshots I got. It's like, look, when I go to a publisher, look, this was my last book.
Yeah.
So hopefully I can find some value in the whole experience. It's just when you're promised one thing and it's like when you start dating somebody and they're putting their best foot forward.
Sure.
And then like a couple months in, you're like, well, that's weird, but she's hot.
Yeah. So tell me, man, what do we say to the next guy? And I am the next guy. What do you say to me, like going into this process? Like, what are sort of the
I would say do your research, throw the Google search in, find out what you can do on your own first. And you don't need to pitch publishing companies, but it might be worth it because, like, here's my manuscript. What do you think? And if they say no, then go ahead, freelance it. Go to Upwork, go to, whatever that company is that you can find your copyright people and your proofreaders, and you'll have a good experience and you'll save a shit ton of money. And then Amazon will help you publish, right? So if you want to get listed on Amazon, the number 2 and the number 3 books, I could tell they published their own. And I started a publishing company just so I wasn't self-published, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I now own that. If you want to publish through mine, I'll let you.
Yeah. That might be fun.
It's cool. It's this logo, by the way.
There you go. That's fun.
Junzi, which means gentleman in Chinese.
And now your publishing company will have 2 titles.
Why not? Why not? We can have a whole thing. And here's the funny thing. We're talking about this proprietary thing, and I wanted to talk to you offline about starting to develop products, which sounds so crazy.
No, for sure.
But look, man, I made a let's say, a sexual aid that'll work for everybody, like a supplement, and it's not a take it and you get a 4-hour erection. It is like a long-term, well, what gets blood flowing for both men, females, transgender, doesn't matter. And I walked into Mom's Organic Market, and I saw something on the shelf, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to buy this just to see, but my product's better. Why are we not doing this?
Yeah.
Like there's companies that import, everything. They'll import saunas and they slap their name on it.
Oh, sure.
But I mean, why are we not undercutting them, man? We talked about this ring.
I got 2 panels in the other room that may as well be Juve's, and a box of rings here that are just Aura knockoffs.
Why are we not slapping Irreverent Health on everything? Why not sell out?
Yeah.
We're just doing
sell out.
It's funny. The great fucking American dream. Like, that's what South Park did. They're like, no, fuck you, we're selling out. And then they showed up at an event in women's dresses and high on LSD, and they were just gonna the whole. I mean, it's hysterical. They just said, we're just gonna say how happy we are to be here and not acknowledge the dresses or the fact that they're full on tripping balls.
That's hilarious.
And I was like, I respect them more for that than really anything they've ever done.
But like, you know what it is? You get a little steam under your belt, and like we talked about Andrew Brian Johnson last time, and we were talking about Huberman before, but like, these guys didn't necessarily have to come out and hawk products, right? Because they had like a routine that was replicatable, right? Like, and like, so yeah, there's an affiliate link to AG1 on his site, and then there's like an electrolyte drink also. Same thing. He's got like affiliate links onto all that stuff. But I mean, AG1, it's not like a $5,000 sauna. It's
but I also feel like that's a little bit cleaner because it's on their website. Yeah. They know, like, when I buy this, that guy's getting a cut of it. It's not. There's not a he's talking about it. Is it because he really loves it, or is he getting a cut?
Sure. Yeah, but like, I think that, like, again, like that whole road to subject matter expertise begins here, and you kind of got to do it. I mean, I'm glad you did it. I'm psyched that it came out. I just found out on this call that you guys hit #1 in Chinese. That's pretty cool too. I mean,
well, yeah, we had 3 different topics that we were #1 in, and you
awesome.
Couldn't get a paperback version of it.
Well, keep us posted on how that goes. In the meantime, what are you getting into? Or are you just sort of all consumed by editing rage and just...
Well, look, this is kind of, and I hate this fucking expression, it is what it is. I'm here now. I have so many other things. My fucking clinical team is crushing it. And I have been checked out this last month with all of this book stuff. And we're about to be able to offer acupuncture to Medicare patients. And I am just about to sign the contract, and everything looks golden. And the person we have coming in to be a MD medical supervisor is just great. And there's so many positives.
Yeah.
So
part of the journey.
You take a loss, you take the wins, and everything kind of equals out at the end. What are you up to, man?
I got a couple of AI projects going on right now, and I know that term is getting thrown around rather nonchalant these days, but these are legitimate AI projects, and I am having the most fun I've had since 1999 in technology.
Honestly, man, this is so cool. I was talking about AI with at least 4 patients today, and I got to figure out what I can do in this space with what I do now, because it is so exciting. It's so exciting.
Yeah. It's like indescribable. Because, like, it's funny. I was joking the other day. I said I think we need a new Godwin's law for AI, because like
it broke the previous one.
Well, like, I mean, I think you're you know, you're way more likely to mention AI than you are Hitler. So like, you know, this,
Yeah, very true.
you know, and it's coming up. I mean, and if you're in bio circles, then there should be another Godwin's law about psychedelics. Like it's like, how long until?
It sounds so much like an echo chamber.
Oh, so it's crazy.
But
so
man.
so the funny part about all of this is that, and here's why the book thing is interesting, because it's on the one hand, you have AI that could technically write and publish the entire book for you and have nothing done, because it can be that whole thing could absolutely be, you know, systematized and prompted, right? Like
absolutely 100%.
Like 1,000. Yeah. I mean, not even so like it opens up like kind of a little bit of a lot, not a little bit, but a lot of a conundrum. And I think that as like philosophically, the conundrum's much bigger than it is practically at the moment. And now I'm not saying it won't be big, but like the reality is all of the AI tools that are out there right now are fucking awful. Not that the functionality is awful, but they're made by engineers, so they're fucking useless. Like you cannot.
They're not the iPhone of AI. They're not intuitive.
They're not 64 of AI. Like they are like literally like terminal prompts and shit. I mean, it's fucking terrible, right? Like,
but this is not going to take 1980s to now. This is going to take 1980s to like 1982.
It's going to go a little slower than that, I think. I mean,
you think so?
Yeah, only because I think there's just too many practical problems in the way between now and then. Like you can't just turn off a faucet of human capital and expect, you know what I mean? Like you can't, like that's just not going to happen.
I'm not going to lean out of the way of my feline Castro.
Yeah. I can't say that I think that's going to happen, but like, look, it's super exciting to be using tools that are truly as modern as it gets, right? Like there isn't a more
I did send you the George Carlin AI.
Oh, I've seen that. I've seen a couple. Did you see the Steve Jobs Joe Rogan interview?
I've seen a bunch of Joe Rogans. I haven't seen the Steve Jobs.
So there's a Steve Jobs and Joe Rogan AI that is fucking indistinguishable from reality. Like, I mean,
oh my God, that's so crazy.
Like it was at a point where this British guy was walking us through it, and he even came back on. His eyes were like this. He's like, dude, like I can't.
That was fucking weird.
Like, yeah, you know, it's like, and I was like, and you know. And I talked to another woman who got her PhD in hyper realistic avatars. And
oh yeah, you were telling me about her. Yeah, we should get her on the show.
She would love it. Yeah, I mean, talk about like if you could imagine if you could digitize you as a doctor. Like imagine Huberman or Greenfield or Kresser or any of these online influencer types.
Any of them, yeah,
digitize themselves and then just created full shows where they are hosting it and walking through interviews or walking through stuff that is reading out of Boundless or is, you know, like for Ben, like, I mean, dude, there's enough information in Boundless to host 3,000 hours of shows, right? Like that thing is like.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, because that book is that's bigger than the Bible.
So I got about halfway through that book and I was like fatigued. Like it hurt to continue reading because each page goes wall to wall, just like, you know, it is dense. So if you took the PDF of that book and just digitized or just fed it into like Ben's.
Here you go. Yeah.
And so when she was late for that thing, she was late intentionally. And I mean, I knew it was fake, but brother, I was looking at it like, damn, this shit is fucking good.
You know, I think we still need to. How many episodes do we have? 60 something?
No, almost 70.
I think we should upload them and just say like, hey, just generate one.
Just generate one. Yeah, here's a topic. Yeah, here, go for it. And you know, it's funny because like, you know, when you look at the canned avatars that are out there, like they feel a little like canned avatars. The thing with her digital one is it did not have, and the Rogan Jobs is another good one. There is no, it has every that Rogan does and every like high pitched end that Steve Jobs, like I don't know. Everything is perfect.
It gets
like,
their intonation. It gets their expressions.
Perfect.
It gets all of it. Yeah.
So basically,
it's scary.
So basically what we turned, last month in December, I just said to one client, I'm like, look, here's the deal, man. Just pick it. Anything. What do you mean? Anything. Like just literally name anything you want to do for your company. And we just started throwing ideas around and we landed on a couple and we just started building them. Cause I'm like, look, man, there isn't a rule here. There's not a limit. There's not like a boundary.
This is the great wide open.
It literally just tell me any weird thing you want to do. And I guarantee you there's a way to do it. And like that concept is basically like trying to explain infinity to a kindergartner.
I gotta tell you, I had this exact conversation with a patient. Like, you don't understand. It's not just huts that you can walk into and get like a full physical and everything tested. It is anything you want in this universe, we can make happen now.
No, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
I'm opening up a conversation with the client who wants to do an architecture firm in the metaverse where the whole house, no, hold on. This is crazy. Where the whole house is designed in the metaverse with the client. And then they print out a CAD drawing and build the physical house out of
the physical house. And the crazy thing is the technology to fucking 3D print it is already there. They're doing that in China.
No, it's not just, well, they're doing it here. There's like a couple neighborhoods out like like a Sedona type place where the whole neighborhood is just.
Well, that makes sense because if you're going to use concrete, you have perfect insulation. You have all these things.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, it's wild, man. It's going to be a crazy world. And so like when I was in graduating college in the late 90s, I mean, an Ethernet jack and the speed in which you got access to the world.
That blew your mind.
Was transformative. Yeah. Like it wasn't just like a hop forward. It was like jumping into that car from that motorcycle from Tron and just dropping into some crazy.
I made a Tron reference today too, man.
Like you're like
too serendipitous.
And all of a sudden you're doing light speed on a blue line. You're like, I don't know what's happening here, but like,
Oh, and it's funny that like, cause you've always had this like super optimistic take on all of this. Cause I'm like more of like Terminator.
It is optimistic. It is not full roses, but
yeah, I mean, problems are going to come up, but I think we can solve them.
I think problems are already up. People are freaking out about a lot of things. The tech layoffs right now are not helping anybody's mood.
No, definitely not.
Everybody's like, oh, it's already happening. Like,
well, but like, I mean, to the Carlin episode, it's like, no, that sounded like a Carlin joke.
No, it's,
that it was scary.
They wrote a whole comedy bit on AI about it just wrote jokes from scratch. And
Joe was like,
no, its shtick was I'm an AI, like, and he basically was like, what do you get when you two AIs walk into a bar? It's like,
Jack Aloka was actually talking about it. He's like, they're already writing dad jokes. And I'm like, well, that's kind of low hanging fruit right there. But it's what was that a year and a half ago?
Yeah, it's an evergreen topic. Dad jokes are the best part about dad jokes when it comes to AI is they're perfectly predictable jokes. And it's like not a,
that's not even a flex for them.
The bar you got to jump over to write a dad joke ain't high. So, all right, man. Well, listen, we
better wrap this up.
I do want to keep tabs on this book thing, but yeah, hopefully everybody else out there is writing a book, which is, I would guess, all of them.
All of them.
Yeah. It goes a little bit better. All right, man.
All right, man. Good, I'll talk to you soon.
You bet.
Be subversive, irreverent.
Health is wealth, but you knew that.
Everybody knows that.
But so is following us on social media at Irreverent Health. And check out our website for more exclusive content at irreverenthealth.com.
Oh, I like this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Irreverent Health.